All right. Good morning, everyone. As you're coming into our meeting, feel free to go ahead to our chat in Zoom and enter your name and your institution. Say hello to everyone. You might know each other. And we have a wonderful webinar coming up this morning. It is called What's the Big Idea? Taking online course development to the next level with an inclusive institutional approach. I'll be your moderator. I'm Kelly Stetka. I'm an instructional designer at the Community College of Baltimore County. And I actually get to introduce you to my director, Natalie Johnson, who will be sharing her wonderful information with you this morning. Natalie serves as the Director of Online Learning and Instructional Design at the Community College of Baltimore County, and she has since 2018. She brings passion and commitment to student-centered education, a guiding principle throughout her career in higher education. Prior to joining CCBC, Natalie held leadership roles at Johns Hopkins University, Laureate Education, and the University of Baltimore. Outside of her professional life, she is a proud mother to her daughter Sarah, who resides in Australia, and her son Garrett, who recently returned home after serving in the Army in Alaska. Natalie, are you ready to take over?
Sure am. Thank you so much, Kelly. I
You're
appreciate it.
welcome.
So, what's the big idea? Is the name of this about taking online and blended courses to the next level. So, I'll give you a little bit of overview and then jump right in. So, here's our first discussion board that we started at CCBC. So, I'll give you some history, but maybe I won't go that far back. I'll bring it a little more forward. So, let me share some numbers with you as far as where we are currently. We have 42 online degrees, we have 32 online credit certificates, and 64 continuing education certificates. And then some of the other work that we do and the unique credit courses that we have about 357, and that was in fiscal year 2020, and we grew to 526 in fiscal year 2025. So we keep growing. And then in 2024, we developed 84 courses or redeveloped courses equaling 84. And then jumping in fiscal year 25 to 114 courses that we developed and redeveloped. So you're getting a theme of growth and volume, I hope, from what these numbers are saying. So let's go from there. So what's the problem? There's no problem. We have a lot of courses, right? We have a lot of courses that we're developing. We're excited about working with faculty and doing the process with instructional design and partnering with online learning. But our problem, the positive part and the problem is the same thing. We have a lot of courses. So instead of working through one by one with courses, I took a step back and thought of a different way of approaching it. So here's what we'll do by the end of this session. Talk about the benefits of moving from a traditional course development model to an inclusive institutional strategy. So instead of taking courses one by one through development, how do you broaden that to be more of an institutional strategy? We'll recognize the impact of the integrated approach and how can it help quality and sustainability of online and blended programs as everybody continues to grow in this area. And then also gaining insights on what things would you consider for utilizing a course and program planners, managing a course life cycle. I'll explain a little bit more about what that means, all wrapped around this inclusive design approach. So inclusive design approach means a lot of people are involved. It's an institutional effort and not just what we used to be doing, more working with faculty and then our online learning department. So these are the components that go into it. So like I hinted to already, we had a process in place where we would work with faculty. The school would put forward what courses they wanted to develop, what priorities there were. And then we would just continue working with them one-on-one. We have instructional designers, we have senior instructional designers and a technical trainer on our team to help through all of this development. But we took a step back and said, we really have so much volume of courses, we should take it from a program approach and not a course by course approach. So we look at program overview and considerations. We could talk a little bit more about what a program planner is and what a course planner is, and the course life cycle. So these are all the components that go into the inclusive design approach for us. So some things that we take a step back and look at before we even start development, really coming together on the course with the department and talking about the environmental scan and the needs analysis. Who would these courses or program be for, and how do we know it's going to meet their needs? Who is the target audience? Where is the target audience? What different program modalities or formats would we be offering them in? And considering student struggles, say they were already courses that we're running, what's the feedback we have and any learner analytics and data that can help inform how we move forward, either if it was face-to-face or in a different modality. All of these considerations weigh into the program itself. So who is at the table? This was really a big shift for us as far as taking a step back and saying, putting really the student in the middle. And I do have to share the previous place where I worked. I was the first one in a meeting, and we were talking about a course, brainstorming some ideas on a program, and there was a seat reserved for a student. I kept waiting and waiting for the student to appear. It wasn't an actual student, it was just always reserved, so you always thought about the student. They weren't involved at that point in time, but I thought that was an interesting way of just grounding and remembering why we're doing what we're doing and who it's for. So there's always a seat for students. The faculty members in the department are invited to participate, adjuncts, full-time, anybody who is interested in participating in this. And then we have a unique position. I don't know if your other schools have this too. We have online learning coordinators, which I can't imagine doing our job without them. They are a very important liaison between our online learning department and the schools. They just are go-between, and we support them and they support us, and it helps us stay connected to the schools. So there would also be the department chair, people from our curriculum and assessment area, librarians, especially related to OERs, research and planning, so we can get data on programs, and IT for any other needs we might have in addition to, excuse me, in addition to the learning management system, which ours is Brightspace, and of course our online learning team. So that's a lot of people. So being able to bring them together as we are having this program approach has been a shift. So here's a specific program planner, what would be included in it. So we would take a step back and consider, we have a program review every 5 years for all programs. So we're looking at what they have done, what the department has done related to the program for a program map, what the outcomes are and the sequences of the courses. And we even sit down and look at what are the program outcomes, what courses are achieving those outcomes, and even specifically what assessments are pointing to those outcomes. So that's a very interactive experience to be able to do that. Some other things that go into play that maybe wouldn't have in an individual course would be other accreditations or standards that could weigh in that we should be thinking of before we develop instead of after the fact. Certification, if there's any other certifications that can be woven in, any professional recognition, state considerations, or licensure. And you might have other areas you'd be thinking of if you're thinking of some programs at your institution. But being able to connect all these dots in the beginning really has made a difference. Another important component is the program design, and that's really the student experience. Being able to design a program in Brightspace as far as what is the experience for the student, how do they navigate, what do the faculty agree on what the structure should be, because the most important part is that a student comes into a course and they're not learning the course every time with every course, which I'm sure you get that. But really having agreement of this is our approach, this is what we're going to orient the students to, and that way when they go into each course in the program, it's a very comfortable experience and they don't need to relearn navigation every time. So that's an important conversation to have, and it's a collaborative approach for that as well. Sharing our team, our online learning team shares, here are some options, here are some suggestions. We look at Brightspace and whatever tools are new or different or may have been underutilized, how do they weigh in to really come up with that consistent program design. Something else we look at is the program cost. Sometimes course by course, we're looking at maybe, is there a cost? Are there OERs? What does that amount to? But then really as a whole, what does the program cost a student? So looking at that and making those considerations in the beginning as part of this program planner is really important. We also look at, okay, how else can we make connections in the institution and offering it in continuing education and credit at the same time. And that's been really a movement that has been increasing as far as having that joint experience for multiple audiences and singular courses. So we'll work with continuing education and credit and connect them as far as offering them in both areas. Then also marketing comes into play. And this is typically the department would go back with marketing to say, you know, here's our inclusive approach to our program, being able to market it out. And then also, what's the evaluation of the program look like? Whether it's looking at student success, getting feedback from students, getting feedback from the faculty as well. So there's a lot of different considerations that come into play when you're not just thinking about a course and you're able to take a step back and really look at the program and all the components that can weigh into it. So then we get into a course planner. So this is kind of the getting to what we always have done. So we usually start off with a course questionnaire, and it's really to learn more from the faculty about the course, student concerns they may have, their passion for the course, how we can weave the profession into the course, and just learning more about the course as a starting place. And then the next step that we typically do is map out the course. We are grounded in Quality Matters and follow all of those standards based in those in Quality Matters itself. So those elements go into our course alignment map, really looking at our common course outlines objectives. So it's the course objectives, module objectives, assessments, and then the other pieces including resources, instructional technology, and learner engagement. So all those components are in our map. Also thinking of the resources, again, back to textbook and OER, you know, that's always been an ongoing mission, you know, making it low cost, no cost for students. So what are resources that we can do? And we partner with the library to look at what resources could be put together, what's already available to offer students OER options. We also have an important focus on accessibility. So in thinking of resources or other tools or content, whether it's even just PowerPoint or PDFs or anything like that, whatever goes into the course must be accessible. So we're planning for it ahead of time. When faculty are mapping out courses, they know the pieces that they want to use, so we can be in front of that, looking at that and evaluating and adapting any content that may need to be adapted to make it more accessible. So that's always good to do beforehand rather than after, but we do it along the process from beginning till end. Mentioned a little bit about Brightspace strategies. We always like to pause after we develop a map of a course and, you know, here's really our plan. And then pausing to see what's new and improved in Brightspace, what other features that we can use, because it's always evolving. There's always something new. Working on the digital accessibility features too that are in Brightspace, or we also use Ally, how to utilize that within this course planner. And then specifically focusing on retention strategies. What are kinds of things that we can build in that keep students on task and help them and support student success and retention. So we look at all of those pieces, and again, wrapping it up with the course cost. What does this course cost by the end of it to the student? So those are a lot of the different pieces for the course planner that wrapped up and go into the program planner. So here's our development cycle. I referenced a course life cycle. That's usually how I say it. The course feels like it's a living, breathing thing sometimes, in that it's always evolving, it's always changing. There's always opportunity to improve. Things change, like if it's a computer science course, technology changes, so it may come back to be revised pretty often. So this is what our cycle looks like. We determine the model of the development, who's doing it, and who are the team members. We often have teams of people, teams of faculty developing courses, and looking at the other people that I mentioned in the program approach, who else is involved and when. So then from there, we develop the course map. The course is built in Brightspace, and then it's offered. And then we take a stand back and review the course data and get student and faculty input, and looking at the retention pieces that we put in place to see how successful they are and how we can keep improving them. The next step is quality assurance and internal review. So we review the courses. Again, we are grounded in quality matters. Courses are typically go into our process after it's run at least one time. And then it's in a revise and course maintenance phase. So as you see, the circle keeps going. It's depending on the course. History may not change as much as a computer science course, but this is in general the process that we go through when we're working on a specific course. Course alignment map components. So this is just bringing it back together as far as program objectives. We have something that's referred to as common course objectives, the module objectives, assessments, instructional materials, technology, and learner interaction. So those are the big pieces that we include on our map, just to reiterate that. So I have a couple leading questions to see if this is something that you could do at your institution. So thinking through, what are the benefits of moving from a traditional course development model to an inclusive institutional strategy? And is this something that you're already doing, or would consider doing it? So I'm open to take questions if we want to talk through some of these questions that I actually have for you first. So if anyone wants to answer, feel free. And Kelly, I don't know if you're still moderating that part.
Yes, I'm still here. Nothing in the chat yet.
Okay.
I do have a question.
Please.
For schools that are thinking about doing this approach, what are
Yeah.
some challenges, unless you're already going to get to this, what are challenges that you've noticed during this transition with faculty and different departments?
Yeah, I think it's a big culture change to have everybody involved, or understanding kind of the bigger process and why. But I haven't had any area resistant. They've been excited to be a part of it and see the benefit to students. So it's really how do you get into it? How do you initiate it? It just started one conversation at a time, when I kind of had the idea of how do we make this broader, bigger, and better. So I appreciate your question, Kelly.
Sure.
Yeah, and that goes to the benefits of it. It's more sustainable as well. So the courses have more sustainability and are connected to the program rather than just isolated as an individual course.
Perfect. Thank you.
Sure. So what's the impact of it? So this speaks a little bit to the quality and also sustainability. So by having that program approach, when I spoke about the program design, having a consistent navigation and layout of a course, that's consistent quality for the student, course by course for the program, and sustainability. So whether it's for an online course or a blended course, it is a really good approach to do that with. So partnerships, this kind of gets to the question, Kelly. So how would you establish and nurture partnerships among faculty, instructional designers, administrators, and other stakeholders? These questions are meant to be kind of leading of, how would you start this? How would you do this at your institution? So that's a question for you if anybody wants to chime in. And do you see that as a hurdle?
And feel free to use the chat or raise your hand. We have a smaller group, so if you also just want to speak out your thoughts, feel free.
Thanks, Callie.
I have a question.
Sure.
So, obviously, when you do this, your faculty get concerned about academic freedom. How do you address that in here? Or how did you build that in here to give them the assurance that remained their caveat remained in their area of influence? Or,
Yeah, I appreciate that, Ron. Our process is when we're developing courses, we refer to them as institutional courses when we're developing them jointly. Actually, that's the only way that we do them. Um, and that is an important piece. And with institutional courses, it serves more as the skeleton of the course where faculty have the freedom to customize and personalize the courses themselves. The other thing that we do that has come across from the program approach that I would have never have seen in a course, just a course by course approach, is that faculty offer up different kinds of assessments for achieving certain outcomes. Whereas if it was just one isolated course and one faculty member, we would have just got, this is what the students need to do to meet this objective. But instead, what's happened in conversations, and a faculty member will say, well, I do this assessment and I do this assessment. Oh, I do that this way. That's really interesting. And instead of picking one, we let them, that's, we promote the idea of options. So it's options for the faculty, like, oh, these three different assessments meet that objective. Let's let the instructors decide which one they want to pick, or even better, let the student decide which one they want to pick. So it may be a different way of representing their knowledge in different kinds of formats that they maybe didn't have before. So there is academic freedom. I think that answers your question, or at least how we approach academic freedom, really having that skeleton or outline of a course that then can be given to faculty and customized, personalized, and so that it is them in that course, whether it's online or if it's blended.
I have another question then, and this probably speaks to the partnership or in the long term. Can you give an example where you applied this to a program and it is shown significant results in both retention and completion?
We're working on that now. We have one department that's really been engaged in this one program, and others are slated to go through this process because they see the value in it. As far as one course was in our education area, the faculty all got together and had a consistent approach to the course. As far as data, we don't have that back just yet to see what the impact was. But that's definitely an important follow-up to do. But just the fact of them sharing what's worked for them or something they haven't thought of and weaving it into the online or blended experience, I think has really got them to collaborate a lot more, creating a better experience for the student where they may not have thought of doing certain things. An example would be there's a tool in Brightspace referred to as intelligent agents. So it kind of taps on the shoulder. You can build in, you haven't accessed the course in a certain amount of time and can reach out to the student. They're automatic replies that way that are built in throughout the course that a faculty member can create. One person may have been doing it, one person may not have, but by them talking together, they realize that might be a really valuable thing. To be able to reach out to people, and also there are ways of actually congratulating people for scores they earn automatically on an assessment and being able to personalize it. So some things have come up out of the conversations for retention strategies that maybe in isolation wouldn't have come up, and been adopted into the course. So that's definitely been a strength of it. Any other questions?
We do not have anything in the chat.
Okay. So the next one is about the collaborative culture. As far as how do you foster a collaborative culture that supports continuous improvement and innovation? And like I said, I think the structure here at CCBC, the involvement of the online learning coordinator has been, has been really valuable to making this process work. We're looking forward to expanding it and continuing this. It's the concept of it has been embraced, and it's just nice that wherever we reach out, we have a positive response and people want to be involved and promote it. So I hope the same would be true for you if you adopt this kind of approach. So implementing this. So what other practical tools, resources, or best practices can help with this? So I think it's just a little bit of old school, talk to people, connect with people, bringing people together initially to talk about the program and having everybody literally at the table, whether we're virtually, it's a virtual table, or we're actually in the same room, I think sets the tone of we're all in this together. And just echoing that the student is always at the center of all of this. So it's really been a good way to get this process started and implementing this model. So like I said, I think it's just really how do you bring people together? Food is probably always a good thing too. We haven't done much of that, but I think I might do that.
Natalie, we do have a question, not
Sure.
food related, but
Okay.
Tanya is wondering if the online learning coordinators do that role as a full-time job.
No, they do not. It's a special position in addition to them being faculty members, and they're phenomenal at it. We come together on a monthly basis and as a whole group within all of our schools. And like I said, I can't imagine not having them. Previous places, there wasn't somebody in that role representing the school and sharing faculty needs as a school. They also individually support faculty very much so in their school when things come up as far as development types of things like that. So I think establishing that type of role is really critical, but it is in addition to other responsibilities and their full-time faculty positions.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay. So now it's your turn. What's your big idea? So I hope by sharing this approach, either you adopt. Now it sounds like an OER. this process, because I think it's a good way to go. And I don't see us not doing this anymore. So if you want any more information, I'm happy to provide anything and take any questions.
I do have one question. For this kind of approach, or really any approach,
Mhm.
how do you record the progress that's being made? So how do you keep that data from this program, like let's say EDTR,
Mhm.
they did all of this work, all of this collaboration. Does that get recorded anywhere? So it can be looked back on and say, hey, they did this, this month, this year. So you have that record of what each program has done in the past.
Yeah, that's a good question. That would happen in the beginning when everyone with the program comes together and really charting out what do we want to do, which courses in which order and why, and prioritizing them. Some programs may not be in a sequential order, but more of a priority and a need to do them. But yeah, we definitely do keep track of here's our plan, here's the program plan, here's the development, here's when it will be reviewed, and here's when it will be improved. So really trying to keep a hold of that? That's a really good question. Thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Sure. And Julie also has a question. On the subject of collaboration, do you have any data or anecdotal reports to indicate if an inclusive institutional approach is likely to work better at some types of institutions than others? For example, 2-year institutions versus 4-year institutions. And I can repeat that if needed.
That's an interesting thought. I don't know if you could individually evaluate just this process in addition to all the other things that may be going on, but that would be an interesting study, perhaps.
Mhm.
So we need more people to do this so we can evaluate it.
Good
I don't
point.
know about the 2 versus 4-year, if that would be any different consideration. I've been at a 4-year institution. I don't see why this wouldn't work there as well, because it's really just bringing your people together, the same as we did here at CCBC. So, but that's an interesting thought. I'll have to keep that in mind to see how that can be researched. Thank you for that.
Any other questions?
I
Or
have another one. Right. So how do you see this process evolving? How do you see generative AI influencing the process?
That is an interesting idea. Um, I see this just continuing right now with more and more of our programs embracing this. It also is a good thing for our own accreditation, having this approach, this documented approach of kind of what Kelly, what you were suggesting, really keeping track of what we're doing and how it's going and what the data is. As far as with AI has definitely been weaving into our course development. And it's really important from us that it's a start, it's not the end, is kind of my philosophy. It's been really helpful for a couple different purposes as far as creating content, creating podcasts, creating videos, creating presentations. But the thing that we consistently do is we may start there, or we start with faculty content. So we're not really just pulling AI solely. We're giving it the information, and it's creating something that would be reviewed by faculty and make sure that it's accurate. There are also internal tools and not just like general ChatGPT type things that's feeding ChatGPT, and you may get some of the hallucinations and that type of thing. It's a couple tools that we use are Notebook LM. We use Synthesia, which took a lot of practice to say, for creating videos and that type of thing. So as far as the program approach, right now the AI piece is course by course, but the types of content that we're creating using AI tools is spreading across the program. So the student will be getting more and more of these types of content, different types of format, and also choice. So using AI to create a module or content related to something I did was related to English brush-ups. They just want to have English skills for students in between 2 English courses. So we created a variety of different content for students to access the same content, but in different ways. So AI, we used Synthesia to create videos. We used, and we could edit scripts, and we're in charge of that content once it initially created it. We use Notebook LM as well. I don't know if you've had experience with that. And also there's some tools within our version of Brightspace referred to as H5P that creates other AI created content too, as far as being able to build in knowledge checks and this type of thing. So I think the more that we use these AI tools and build in the engaging content and also opportunities for checks for understanding, that falls into the whole program layout and format where the student is comfortable with that type of content, and it's really increasing their choice in how they're learning and the types of content they want to learn from, whether it's audio and a transcript, video, text, whatever kinds of content, giving them those options where before AI, it would have been a lot of labor and taken a lot of time to create all those pieces from scratch. So I really see that just continuing to grow in the types of content that we can create more rapidly. So more to come on that for sure.
All right. If there's no other questions, Natalie, do you have anything else to share?
No, I think that wraps it up. But feel free to reach out if you have any questions. I'm happy to talk about this.
Thank you. And before everyone leaves, I am going to share our completer slide so you can grab a picture or screenshot of that for your records that you attended this webinar. Any more questions, feel free. We'll hang out for a couple more minutes. Natalie, thank you so much for that information. That's definitely a lot of good questions and points to think about when we have this big amount of courses, which can be overwhelming, but thank you for sharing all of that, and thank you everyone for joining this morning.
I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.